She was just trying to make rent. They were trying to make a scene. But when the rich couple threw money at her feet and called her worthless trash, they had no idea who they were really talking to. Because sometimes, karma doesn't just knock. Sometimes it walks through the front door wearing a three-piece suit. Meet Sarah Chen, 26 years old, law school graduate, and for the past 8 months, a waitress at Romano's, downtown's most pretentious Italian restaurant. Why was a lawyer serving breadsticks? Simple. Student loans don't pay themselves. The legal market was brutal, and pride doesn't keep the lights on. Sarah worked the evening shift. Designer suits walked past her in $3,000 shoes while she balanced plates in non-slip sneakers. She smiled through it all, because this was temporary. Just temporary. Every night she'd go home to her cramped studio apartment, law books stacked beside takeout containers, a constant reminder of what she was working toward, what she'd lost, and what she planned to get back. But Tuesday night everything changed. The reservation was for 8 p.m. table 12, Mr. and Mrs. Richard Blackstone, and from the moment they walked in, Sarah knew they were trouble. Mrs. Blackstone's jewelry could have paid Sarah's rent for 2 years. Mr. Blackstone's watch? Probably worth more than Sarah's entire education. They demanded the best table, the most expensive wine. And they treated everyone like furniture, including Sarah. What they didn't know was that she'd been watching them for months, every Tuesday. Same table, same arrogant routine. And tonight she was ready. "Excuse me, girl." Mrs. Blackstone snapped her fingers like Sarah was a dog. "This soup is cold. Are you incompetent?" Sarah apologized. Brought a fresh bowl, but it wasn't enough. "Look at me when I'm talking to you," Mr. Blackstone snarled. "Do you have any idea who we are?" They were Richard and Victoria Blackstone. He owned half the commercial real estate downtown. She sat on charity boards and collected art. Together they bulldozed through life, assuming their money made them untouchable. But here's what they didn't know about Sarah Chen. Her father wasn't just any immigrant, he was Dr. James Chen. Owned the medical plaza on 5th Street, the same building where Blackstone Industries rented office space. The same building where the Blackstones had been fighting an eviction notice for the past 6 months. Small world, right? The evening got worse. Mrs. Blackstone sent back her pasta. Twice. Mr. Blackstone complained about the temperature, the music, the lighting, everything. "What kind of place hires people like you?" Mrs. Blackstone whispered loud enough for other tables to hear. "Probably some illegal who can't get a real job." Sarah's hands trembled as she cleared their plates. But she didn't break. Not yet. Then came dessert, and the moment that changed everything. Sarah brought their tiramisu, set it down gently. Professional, polite, everything a good waitress should be. That's when Mr. Blackstone accidentally knocked over his wine glass. Red liquid splashed across Sarah's white shirt, her black pants, the floor. Oops. He didn't even try to sound sorry. "Clean that up." But Mrs. Blackstone? She went further. "Maybe if you weren't so clumsy, you'd have a real career." She pulled out a $20 bill, threw it on the wine-stained floor. "There, that should cover your dry cleaning and maybe buy you some classes on how to do your job properly." The restaurant went quiet. Every eye in the place was watching, waiting to see what the humiliated waitress would do. Sarah looked at the money on the floor, at the smug faces staring down at her, at the stained uniform that would come out of her own paycheck. And she smiled. "You know what?" Sarah said, her voice calm as glass. "You're absolutely right." She bent down, picked up the 20, folded it neatly. "This will definitely help with my dry cleaning. Thank you for your generosity." The Blackstones looked confused. Where was the tears, the anger, the breakdown they expected? Sarah walked to the register, processed their bill, came back with the receipt and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Have a wonderful evening," she said. "I hope you get everything you deserve." They left laughing, joking about putting the help in their place. They had no idea what was coming. Because Sarah Chen didn't just go home and cry into her pillow. She went home and made a phone call. "Dad, it's me. Remember those tenants you've been trying to evict from the 5th Street building? The ones who keep fighting the non-payment notices? I need to tell you something about them. You see, Doctor, Chen had been trying to collect $47,000 in back rent from Blackstone Industries for 8 months. Richard Blackstone kept filing extensions, delays, appeals, using his lawyer to tie up the courts while avoiding payment. But Sarah had just witnessed something her father's legal team could use, something that proved the Blackstones weren't struggling to pay rent. They were choosing not to. "Dad, they just spent $340 on dinner and threw cash around like confetti. Get Marcus on the phone. We're filing an emergency motion tomorrow." That was Wednesday. By Friday, things got interesting. Marcus Chen, yes, Dr. Chen's brother and one of the city's most ruthless corporate attorneys, walked into the Romano's restaurant, not for dinner, for reconnaissance. He spoke to the manager, reviewed the security footage, interviewed witnesses, built a case that would make the Blackstones wish they'd never heard the name Chen. But Sarah wasn't done. Oh no. She was just getting started. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, Blackstone Industries received 3 legal documents. First, an emergency court order freezing their business accounts pending full payment of back rent. Second, a civil lawsuit for harassment and discrimination, citing the restaurant incident as evidence of character. Third, a notice that their lease would be terminated in 30 days unless they paid $47,000 plus interest, legal fees, and damages. Total amount due, $73,500. Richard Blackstone called Dr. Chen immediately, screaming, threatening, demanding to know how a simple eviction case had become a federal discrimination lawsuit. "I believe," Dr. Chen said calmly, "you met my daughter Sarah last Tuesday at Romano's. She tells me you had some very interesting things to say about immigrants and their career prospects." The line went dead. But here's where karma really showed its hand. Remember that $20 bill? The one Mrs. Blackstone threw on the floor? Sarah had kept it, and when the discrimination lawsuit went to court, that 20 became Exhibit A. "Your Honor," Marcus Chen told the judge, "my client was forced to crawl on the floor to collect money thrown at her like she was a street beggar." The defendant's own security footage confirms their behavior was designed to humiliate and degrade. The Blackstones settled out of court. $150,000 to Sarah personally, full payment of back rent, and a written apology that was filed as public record. But the story doesn't end there, because while Sarah was fighting for justice, something else happened. The legal team Marcus assembled to handle the case. They were so impressed with Sarah's research and strategic thinking that they offered her a job. Senior associate, corporate litigation. Starting salary? $180,000. Sarah gave her 2 weeks' notice at Romano's. On her last day, she walked past table 12 one final time, the same table where the Blackstones had tried to destroy her dignity. She smiled. Because karma doesn't just even the score. Sometimes it rewrites the entire game. The Blackstones? They lost their office space, their business reputation, and Richard had to sell 2 investment properties to cover the legal costs. But Sarah? She got something more valuable than money. She got proof that respect isn't bought, it's earned. And sometimes the person you think you can step on is the same person who will rise up and step back. What would you have done in Sarah's place? Would you have stayed quiet? Or would you have served them exactly what they deserved? Karma doesn't rush, but it never forgets. If you believe in karma too, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next story.